Ooh, camera's on. Hello, it's Monday, Halloween, the 31st of October. Greetings, last day of the month. Enjoy Halloween. Enjoy it. So, we'll just do a basic vinyl community based video. Okay? So my friend Blake came by yesterday, trumpet player on Josh Hoyer and Colossal Soul. He's in that band. Good player. We had a very good visit. Talked about music mainly. Josh Hoyer and Colossal Soul. The new album, looks like it's doing okay. Green light. It's on Pandora. I'm not on Pandora yet, even though I have several releases. I'm on Spotify. I don't even care for Spotify, but I noticed that about Josh Hoyer, and I was telling that to Blake. Hey, man, you're on Pandora. He was pleased about that. Watched Michael Dawson, his latest video, and cheers to all the folks who got featured in the article in Goldmine about the vinyl community. Sure, I'd love to have seen myself there, but it's I'm part of it. It's an organic, living thing. Proud to say I've been a part of it since, I don't know who started calling it the vinyl community. I don't know. I don't know that it was me. I know I was there early on. So I did enjoy this yesterday. The Strawbs, like I said, I was going to play it. I enjoyed this quite a bit. Another album that I played yesterday, I hadn't played in a long time because it gets overlooked. I listened to this after watching a Steve Hackett interview about the making of this album, Highly Strung. And sure enough, as was obvious to me at the time when this came out, is that he was chasing a hit that he was, and he says it in the interview, he was under intense pressure by the record label to get a hit. Sadly, though, he got the hit off of this, Cell 151, and his main label still, Charisma, they still dropped him afterwards. So, the irony of it, huh? But the songs that Steve feels strong about here are the ones that I like, Camino Royale, Hackett to Pieces. And it was neat to hear about Nick Magnus's heavy involvement in the writing of this stuff, and Steve's respect for his bandmate. Very cool. So Blake and I talked about Revolver because I had it sitting out in the living room when he came over, and he asked, "Oh, did you get the new one?" I says, "No, that's why this is out, because I already have it. I have it on the remastered CD, and I was just listening to it to just check to make sure, I really want to pass on this box set." And at this point, it's like, yeah, unlike the Prince vault stuff, the outtakes on the Revolver, there's like a couple songs where they give you 3 or 4 outtakes in a row, and it's like, I don't really want to listen to that. That's what I have to do to my own music. Which reminds me to say thank you for the feedback regarding the bit of music you heard at the beginning of my last video. That is a piece that will be that is planned for my next vinyl release on FPE Records next year. And I'm feeling really strong about that track. And it's pretty much done. I actually worked on it some more yesterday, and really liking it. And it's in general, what I've chosen for this next album is feeling stronger to me than Future Still. Although I've been very happy with my album so far, this one feels like I'm developing. Things are moving along. Thank you for the feedback. And hello, everyone. Gorvo, hello. So rather than curate a pile of singles to show you, there was a pile just sitting out in the other room on top of boxes of singles. Don't remember why these weren't put away. So I thought, well, let me grab them and see what's in the pile that'll be interesting to show. And the first thing I'll show is it's beat in bad shape. The cover. This is the demonstration record that came when my dad bought an electric saxophone. Now here's one for you, Stephanie. Do you remember this? I bet you don't. I was fascinated by the entire setup. The fact that it had a box on the sax, had to play it through an amp, and it sounded really pretty cool. I only have one record that I know of that uses the baritone. It's a Sonny Stitt album, and it's pretty cool. Of course, though, the sad truth of the matter is that we were so, low income that as quick as my dad got the damn thing, he had to pawn it, had to hock it. I don't even know how long he was able to hang on to it, But that was in this pile of singles. Let's see what else is in this pile. Ice House, Hey Little Girl. That's a good song. Australian band, pop, but they had a real smooth sound. And it made sense to me that Ira Davies, the lead singer of this band, also worked with Yukihiro Takahashi of Yellow Magic Orchestra. He appears on some Takahashi records, and there's similarity. The sound that the band would approve, the sound of the band Ice House, pretty good. Nice. I like him. Here's a jazz single that I have. I'll pull it out and show it. Which is the A-side here? This is probably the A-side, them doing Lalo Schifrin's Free Ride, but it's Dizzy Gillespie with Lalo Schifrin on the Pablo label on a single. Free Ride backed with Unicorn. I quite enjoy Lalo Schifrin's writing and arranging as well as Dizzy Gillespie. Schifrin's done some very cool work back in the 60s on movies that I really like. Okay, so here's some records that I like. I think I played these not that long ago. A favorite from AM radio, The Friends of Distinction, Love or Let Me Be Lonely. They had a big hit. I know it was on black radio. Going in Circles was a big hit. I kind of liked it, but I got sick of that song pretty early on. This one still, to me, is a very cool song. Love or Let Me Be Lonely. Friends of Distinction going down that same path as the Fifth Dimension. This is a badass track. To this day, this is a badass funk instrumental. Nightlighters with KG. Y'all know this? Look this up. This is a classic. It was always, whenever it would come on the radio when I was a kid, they didn't play it enough for me. I stopped what I was doing to listen intently to the whole track. When you hear it, I think you'll hear why. The guitar figure, the saxophones, the dun dun dun, it's killer. It's a killer track. I used to have the album and I played it to death. Or that's the thing about being a collector from a kid. Some of the stuff as a child, when you're a kid, you don't know. I didn't know about collecting, and so stuff was like toys and got trashed. Some RCAs all in a group. Brian Auger, Happiness is Just Around the Bend. Great song. Backed with a decent version of Inner City Blues by Marvin Gaye. Such a tragedy about Marvin Gaye's life, huh? Here's one that goes back to my childhood that I just, again, loved the sound on the radio. Andy Williams, Can't Get Used to Losing You. Love this song. And then backed with Days of Wine and Roses. Really kind of a double A-sider. I've got even older 45s, old classical RCA with the different color variations that they would use to signify what kind of music it was. I've got a bunch of those. From Peter Frampton's youth, The Herd, From the Underworld. Here's some light. I've always liked the Fontana label. Always pay attention. It has a long history, of all kinds of music, but some of my favorite music is on that label. House of Love comes to mind right away. Speaking of the Fifth Dimension, here are some of their singles. Aquarius, Let the Sunshine In, Fifth Dimension. I loved them. And then Working on a Groovy Thing. Good stuff. I, for one, liked the fact that the band was, that the Fifth Dimension were black and crossing over and had a sound where it's like, well, are they black? Are they white? And to me, it was like, does it matter? Are we finally getting there? No, we didn't, but it was like, those, to me, those were signs of progress regarding dismantling poisonous racist attitudes. But it was just surface noise, but I'm glad it happened. Classic, Blue Cheer, Summertime Blues. This is, to me, this is an example, one of the earliest examples of what I consider heavy metal. Hard rock. Before you wanted to call it heavy metal, hard rock was the term when I was a kid. Hard rock. That was an important, man, that shit's hard rock. And this is one of the first examples of hard rock. Really done well. These are trashed because they were my dad's. But they're like, it's like, they're heirlooms. These are some Blue Note singles of my dad's. Art Blakey with Clifford Brown, Once in a While. These are barely playable. My dad played this to death. And this other one, this organist, Babyface Willet, Going Down, Part 1. When this is over, I'm going to try to play this. Actually, I'm going to do it now to see just how much surface noise. This will be fun. And I'll keep it on for just a second so I don't have to worry about copyright. Immediately I remember this. Stephanie, do you remember this? Blues. That takes me right back. I can see my dad listening to this, playing along with it. Let's keep going. This is a reissue of it, the Janettes, Sally Go Round the Roses. This was kind of a spooky hit. Y'all remember this? This was a big deal, though, when it came out, because everybody in Omaha knew that the drummer on this track was Buddy Miles from Omaha. And this was one of his first recordings, professional recordings. I think it was around this time that he got the gig with Wilson Pickett as well. Very cool song. Okay, here's a favorite of mine from childhood. It's Beat. J.J. Jackson, But It's All Right. Again, it has a very strong hook musically, which is, again, the music is the thing that's always got me first. Even if it's a good voice, it's the music. Here's one from the Sec of Funk. You still around, Sec? I see you online. Thank you for sending these wonderful singles to me. This is the Pace Setters, Freedom and Justice, Bootsy Collins and his brother's first band. How frickin' cool is this? On Kent. Thank you, Sec. Thank you. Okay. Is this one? Yeah, I need a new copy. I sold the albums, and I ought to get them back because they're actually good. Mark Allman on Blue Thumb, The City. I had most of these, and when I was trying to make room, I was desperately getting out of room. These are some of the albums that I jettisoned because those Mark Allman records are records here in the Midwest that you see in the dollar bins constantly. Even now, you still see them for nothing. And so after a while, I just needed room. But in retrospect, I really like those albums. Mark Allman. Deodato with Steely Dan's Do It Again, another CTI single. Deodato with Airto. Very cool. This pile has several of my dad's records in it. Here's one of my dad's 45s, Bobby Gregg's The Jam, Part 1. This is another one where my dad, the main solo set on here is a sax. Bobby Gregg was a drummer who did a lot of session work and notably played with Bob Dylan. I forget which records, but he's the drummer on some early Bob Dylan albums. And this is... Okay, once again, let me see how far I can go with this, because if I get blocked, then I won't do this again. So the other thing right away that you can hear is that this is swinging, this is rocking. I don't know who all the other musicians are on the record. It just says Bobby Gregg and Friends. I was able to find that out about Bobby Gregg, but this jams, and when the saxophone player comes in, he screams. And that's what got my dad's attention as a sax player, and he actually learned it. Message from a Black Man from the Whatanuts and the Whatnot Band. Pretty cool. This is beat, but I got it. Yummy, 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 the Ohio Express. This whole period of bubblegum music and Buddha records in particular, I loved what they did. I love that bubblegum sound. Kaznet's Cats Orchestra, 1910 Fruit Gum Company, Lemon Pipers. Green Tambourine was like, that's my song. Still to this day, I love it. Shining Star by Earth, Wind, and Fire. You cannot fade Earth, Wind, and Fire. Maurice White, rest in peace. He went all the way back to being Ramsey Lewis's drummer in the 60s. Very powerful, dynamic band. Very important band, Earth, Wind, and Fire. This one is just about another one of my dad's. Here's a story behind this. Stephanie, you'll remember this. When we discovered that the radio station KOIL would let us take a tour of the station, because we were enamored with the station because they were the leader of the Beatles at the time, the DJ, forget his name. And at the end of the tour, they gave us a big box of records. Remember that, Stephanie? And then when we got home and we're playing them, Dad freaked out, said, "Where'd you get all these records?" And he took them from us and said, "I'll give you back what I want." It's the typical thing. He was like, we did something that we didn't have permission to do. And anyway, this was one of those records that Dad kept that was out of the haul that we got from KOIL. I can't even hardly make out the name. Let the Love Light Shine. Something Cornerstone. But it was like the first time other than children's little yellow records where I saw besides the RCA singles, seeing a colored vinyl single, okay? This is a cool promo single that I need to play because I don't remember what it sounds like. But African singer, Letta Mabulu, Open Up Your Heart. It's like I say, I got all kinds of stuff in here. Here is an early version of A&M Records that was started by Herb Alpert. And, Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass, The Lonely Bull. Look at that. This is before they even established their label design. The Lonely Bull. Got all kinds of stuff like this, Here's one. Classic. Little Richard. Good Golly Miss Molly. I can just go on and on and on, people. You know, I love music, and I do have I've been studying it for a while. Love the single, Round and Round by Rat. When this came out, I says, yeah, listen to the sound of that band. I like Stephen Pearcy's voice too, but it was the band. And Warren DeMartini's solos, it's like, this is killing. And on top of it, when I bought the single because I liked it so much, this is the single I bought when it came out. The B-side is just as strong musically. The Morning After, Rat. Seen Rat twice. Yeah, I like them. I saw the original lineup on tour with Dokken, and I saw him years later when things had fallen apart. And then this label out of Chicago, this is a great, great single. I don't know, they made maybe a couple other single records. The Cherry Slush, They Don't Come. Another, just whenever I'd hear it on the radio, it was like, oh, there's one of those special songs. Just a great pop song. Great pop song. It's beat, but I got it on single. The Meters, Chicken Strut. Once again, whenever the Meters put out a new single, it just blew up in the hood, if you know what I'm saying. You didn't hear the Meters on radio in Omaha, but you heard the Meters everywhere. Everybody played the hell out of the Meters. I'm almost done here. Because these are some important singles that I'm looking at, and I've got thousands of these. The Impressions, Choice of Colors, backed with Mighty Mighty Spade and Whitey. Yeah, this was Curtis Mayfield on top of his game, truly being a leader and saying things that needed to be said profoundly in music and word. Choice of Colors. And things haven't got any better. Things are worse. Things are worse right now when it comes to racism. Errol Garner, I Can't Get Started with Just Blues. Old Columbia, that's old, probably 50s, right? Probably from the 50s. Last two I'll show. One of my favorite Rolling Stones albums, Goat's Head Soup. Angie, backed with Silver Train. That's the song I really like, is Silver Train. I don't like Angie. Never did. And then Starfucker on that album. Great song. And the theme from Shaft, my man Isaac Hayes. Those are just sitting out there, okay? Thought I'd share them with you. I'd like to remind you that this Friday is going to be a Bandcamp Friday. I have a new release out, Om Ambient. It's a good one. Okay, folks, talk to me.